Hey everybody, Captain Lou here with another edition of Tigers Daily. Happy Friday, August the 7th, 2026. Before we get started, again, a reminder for those of you that haven't done it yet, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel here on Tigers Daily. You get all the stuff, the good, the bad, and everything in between. We give you all the latest rumors, everything going on and off the diamond. We talk about the games from the night before, and of course we take a look ahead at what's up for the Tigers. So again, for those of you that have subscribed, I say thank you very much. The response has been phenomenal. What can I say? The viewership's been off the charts. Just so much. I can't say enough about it. And the interaction in the comment section, the banter back and forth. Thank you. And for those of you, again, that haven't subscribed, we welcome you for the opportunity to hit that subscribe button and be a part of the Tigers Daily family. It's been such a treat for me, just a Tigers fan, talking to you Tigers fans in general as well. All right, let's take a look last night. How about the Tigers again? Framber Valdez. He dazzled the Seattle Mariners. 7 innings, shutout ball, 5 strikeouts. The Tiger bats, again, on fire. 11-0 yesterday. What a game for the Tigers. They jumped out early, getting 3 runs in the first, and then didn't look back, obviously. Just taking the series and then some. Just, you know, when you score 26 runs in a series, I mean, you're gonna do great things. And, of course, that's what they did. So the Tigers, again, and what about Framber Valdez? Not only did he pitch well yesterday, in the last 3 games for the Tigers, in his starts, 18 innings pitched. 19 innings pitch, I beg your pardon, 1.9 earned run average. This is what the Tigers were looking for when they signed him to that lucrative free agent contract. So Framber Valdez perhaps warming up a little bit. He's got a bigger role now for the Tigers, obviously losing Skubal and Mize in the trade deadline. So he's got to step up along with Melton and Montero and Jackson Jobe coming off of, you know, the injury and all of that. The Tigers want to stay in contention. So again, a big outing for Framber Valdez, just what the doctor ordered for the Tigers as they take another series on the road with an 11-0 whitewash of the Mariners. And again, a big game yesterday coming off of what happened the other night with the benches clearing. You know, Gleyber Torres getting beamed after what happened the inning before. And, you know, they didn't back down, the Tigers didn't. They didn't get rattled. And they took the series, and it was a big series because they climbed back over the Seattle Mariners in the race for the wild card spot. The Tigers now just 1 game out of a wild card spot in the American League. It's insane. I know it's mostly because the American League is pathetic right now, but the Tigers are playing good ball, and if they can keep it up, they're obviously going to be in contention for a playoff spot, if not the division, especially after what happened to the White Sox last night, that crazy finish against the red-hot Boston Red Sox, and red hot indeed they are. We'll take a look about that in a little bit. So again, back to the Tigers. Framber Valdez, we talked about, we need him. He's going to be the go-to guy, it looks like, after bullpen games for the Tigers right now in this rotation, and he delivered another outing, 2nd out of 3, where he got 7 strong innings, 96 pitches for Framber Valdez, and he keeps doing that. The Tigers are going to look pretty sharp going into the stretch drive here in the dog days of August, and then going into September as they drive for a playoff spot in the American League. So next up for the Tigers will be the San Francisco Giants. We'll talk about that in a little bit, and we'll take a look at the rotation for the Tigers as they go to the Bay to take on the Giants and wrap up this road trip out west here in August. All right, I wanted to talk about this real quick. Something I listened to yesterday. As I told you guys, we were taking a little road trip up north, and I was listening to MLB channel and was reading a little bit afterwards, and I saw this. This is what John Smoltz said. Now, we talked about how it's more than likely going to happen, a salary cap, and you know, they're going to draw the line in the sand. But he brought up an interesting alternative, and I just wanted to kind of get your feedback on it. What would you think? This is my first question for you today on this Friday. How about instead of a salary cap, you go with a split season format? Now, you see a lot of the minor leagues do it. I know, like the single A season does it, double A. You know, and the reason I bring it up, and he brought up a good point about it, and he said, a lot of times you see some of these smaller market teams that get off to a hot start, but they can't maintain it against some of these bigger market teams because of the trade deadline, the ability to acquire assets and all that. But now remember, the Tigers had that split, or the Major League Baseball had that split season back in the 80s when they had the strike. And it seemed to work. It got more people interested, more people into the, into the season. And I think it's a cool idea. Let's just say, for example, the Tigers right now, they're one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball, besides the Boston Red Sox. They would be in line to probably win the division and get a playoff spot in October. You could maybe shorten the season a week. I don't know. But, it's just something to think about. It would get more teams that don't have the payroll that the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox. It would kind of even out the playing field a little bit. And then who knows, you get into the playoffs at the end of the year, then you can maybe do something. So I just thought it was kind of a neat alternative. What do you think about that? A split season mentality, maybe the opportunity to do that and get more teams involved. I know some people say it's diluted right now with seven playoff teams, six playoff teams. I'm sorry, the 3 division winners and the 3 wild card teams. But I just thought this was a cool alternative to do that because the smaller market teams, they can't maintain it as well as some of the bigger market teams over 162 games. But, it's just, again, a different alternative for the Tigers, or for baseball, because that way you don't have to have the salary cap for some of these teams that can't afford to get the salaries to maintain with the Dodgers and with the Rays or with the Yankees and that type of thing. So just an idea to bounce around here. As again, the CBA's coming, the lockout is coming, and there's going to be a new collective bargaining agreement here in the next couple of days. Here, kind of get away from the sun here a little bit. There we go. On the magic of live TV, right? So again, just something to think about with that cap alternative. We want baseball next year. Now I know they won't do it, but it's just something to keep in the back of your minds. The big market teams aren't going to go for it, but I kind of like the split season idea with that because the concept of the smaller market teams that are getting hot and they can maintain it for maybe half a year, earn themselves a playoff spot, get more revenue towards the end of the year in the playoffs, and maybe a little more parity, give more teams an opportunity to do it, like the Pirates or the Rays, or although the Rays are good every year, the Pirates or the Royals, or any the Cincinnati Reds, the smaller market teams. So just something to think about as we get closer to the cap, or to the CBA expiring and the potential lockout next year, because we want baseball. Any kind of alternative we can get to not having a lockout and not missing games in 2027. So again, just an idea to think about. All right, rotation for the Tigers this weekend against the San Francisco Giants. A big series for the Tigers. They've taken 5 out of 6 so far in this road trip. We want to keep it that way, right? We want to keep the ball rolling, so to speak. So Keider Montero, he looks sharp in his last outing. He's going to take the hill tonight for the Tigers against the Giants, and then the much anticipated return of Jackson Jobe tomorrow for the Tigers against the Giants. We'll see how many innings he goes. We'll see how many pitches he takes, 50 to 75 pitches, or probably 60 pitches, maybe 65, depending on how he's looking. But that's going to be a very interesting matchup for Jobe to get him back in the rotation, something Detroit needs, obviously. And then on Sunday, Troy Melton, he had such a great matchup, or a great outing in the opener for the Tigers against the Mariners. He's going to take the bump on Sunday in the series finale against the Giants. So on paper, looks pretty good for the Tigers. Montero and Melton really look strong in their last outings. And then Jackson Jobe, his first one back from the disabled list from Tommy John surgery. An exciting time for him. It's going to be a nervous time for him, and top it all off, he's going to be on national TV on Fox tomorrow night against San Francisco. So we'll see how that goes for Jobe. Really excited for the Tigers. I'm excited for the Tigers in general, what they're doing. It's been absolutely amazing here. All the distractions, the horrid start that they had in May 6-22, and they're right in the thick of it. Let's see if they can keep it going this weekend as they take on San Francisco. And then after that, they head home. They got the day off on Monday, And then it's going to be Tuesday through Sunday at home against the Guardians and against the White Sox. A do-or-die time, or not really a do-or-die time, but a very crucial 6-game stretch for the Tigers. Who knows what position they'll be in after this road trip against San Francisco. The way it's going right now, they could be near the top of the American League Central. And again, they're right in the thick of it in the wild card. So, yeah, that's what we're looking for the Tigers coming up here this weekend against San Francisco. All right, let's take a look now at some tidbits and such, your thoughts. We asked you yesterday, who was your first favorite Tiger growing up? We're going to go through all of those this weekend. I just want to touch on a few, but I had some thoughts on a couple of other things. But first of all, let's take a look at the standings in Major League Baseball real quick. The Yankees trail the Rays by 4.5 games. Boston, what about the Red Sox yesterday? What an amazing win for them. They trailed in the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th yesterday and pulled it off over the White Sox. They're 31-5 right now in their last 36 games. They have climbed within a half a game of the Yankees and now 5 of the Tampa Bay Rays. They've won 8 straight, just absolutely lights out baseball. You can't be any better than that. And they're now in second place still in the wild card. In the Central, the White Sox, the only team over 500, 59-55. They've got a 3-game lead over the Twins and Guardians and a 3.5 over our Tigers. And in the West, the Astros, they lost their lead against the Rangers as a 1.5 games. The Rangers holding the last wild card spot in the American League. And finally, in the National League, the Braves, a 8.5 game lead rather over the Phillies. The Brewers have a 5.5 game lead over the Cubs. And the Dodgers, their lead now 8.5 over the Diamondbacks. And in the wild card, as we mentioned, you talk about a jumbled up standing with the Yankees, a half-game lead over the Red Sox. Rangers right now have that final wild card spot, a game under 500. Twins and Guardians, a half a game out. Orioles and Tigers, a game out. The Seattle Mariners, a 1.5 out. And the Blue Jays, 3.5 out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams within a 1.5 of that final wild card spot in the American League. So absolutely mind-boggling for the Tigers or for the American League, again, mostly because it is just so, it's anemic, that being the Tigers, or the American League, not the Tigers. I beg your pardon on that. And finally, I saw something yesterday or this morning rather. I was reading about this. What are your thoughts on this? A fan in New York is looking to sue the New York Yankees for $10 million. They were hit by a flying bat that came out of the hands of one of the Yankee ball players. What are your thoughts on that? I think that's kind of crazy. I know we live in such a litigious society, but yeah, I saw that as well this morning, and I thought, that's insane. Why would anybody do that? Don't you know the dangers of going to a ball game? You get hit by a foul ball, this and that. I know a bat's a little different. It slipped out of his hands, went up over the safety netting. Now they're looking to sue the Yankees for $10 million. That's insane. All right, a few of we talked about it with the comments, with the Tigers, with our question yesterday. Who was your first favorite Tiger? I love some of these. Franker Band 656, George Kell. We had Rocky Colavito. Connor Walters, born in 54. Al Kaline, always and will remain his favorite Tiger. A lot of them for Kaline. How about Harvey Keene, Rocky Colavito, Norm Cash, Gates Brown. Then, of course, some of the folks that were a little bit younger, the 84 Tigers, Trammell Whitaker. We've got Cabrera. So many different answers. Willie Horton, Kirk Gibson, Charlie Pawpaw Maxwell. Some of the big names, of course, Sweet Lou Whitaker. How can you go wrong with that? And, of course, some of the newer ones. But I love some of these from when I grew up. Mickey Lolich, Bill Freehand, The Bird, Rusty Staub, crazy. Those are some cool names. So we're going to go through those a little more in depth in a couple of days when we're back on for another edition of Tigers Daily. So again, big weekend set for the Tigers as they've got the Giants finishing up the road swing, just a game out of a wild card spot. So again, our questions today: what do you think about our cap alternative with the split season? Is it just a pipe dream? I know it's looking like we're going to have a lockout next year. And are you still in favor of the salary cap? But what do you think of our alternative we talked about with the split season for Major League Baseball to give the the smaller market teams a chance? And again, our other question is, do you think this fan is out of line suing the Yankees for $10 million, the one that was hit by a flying bat? The litigious society we live in, I guess you just never know. All right, that's going to do it for this abbreviated edition of Tigers Daily. I want to thank everybody for taking time out to be with us on your laptops, your iPhones, however you watched us around the world. Have a great weekend. We'll be back in a couple of days for another edition of Tigers Daily. Until then, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long.